Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. 2023 is shaping up to be a year like no other, and what a great focus on service and transparency. We want to welcome now to the conference Juan Flores, who is the Senior Director of Product Management at KBB, Kelley Blue Book Service Advisor. Juan, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you for having us.
Juan, great honor to have you. Talk to us a little bit today. Why is right now, the critical time for us to focus on service?
I think it's a perfect time as we've had a little bit of recalibration out on the new car sales marketplace, right? We have a year-over-year SAR that's down, and I think that's expected. We also have some shifting in average transaction prices of vehicles. And I think as interest rates are rising, as used car inventories are going to begin to flood the market because default rates are going up, this is a perfect time for the dealership to diversify their profit portfolio, not their revenue portfolio, but their profit portfolio. And they always do a great job of emphasizing fixed ops, but this is a great time to double down on fixed ops because of the recalibration that's happening on the new car and used car side.
You're right. There is a recalibration, and I guess those are some of the the macroeconomic trends that are facing our dealer body today.
I don't think people realize to the extent that a couple of these indicators, like an increase in default rate, 90-day default rate payments are up by 50%. You also have an increase in credit card usage, so debt levels are going up for your average consumer. And this conversation, Ted, probably is not going to apply to many of the high luxury end dealerships, but for the rest of the dealers, your customer base ends up with a higher credit card balance. Then that's going to have an impact on what their average monthly payment can be. They may just decide to hold on to their vehicle instead. So these are going to have cascading impacts. And I think the dealers are mindful of that but probably aren't aware of how much of an issue this might be to them.
Juan, I saw some studies last year about customers holding onto their cars a lot longer, and you can probably tell us how long are people holding onto their cars, and should that shift the dealership's focus?
I mean, we know that the average age of the vehicle out on the road is over 11 years, and we know that the length of terms, right? We were all so excited 3-4 years ago that the length of terms were 60 months and 72 months, and sometimes it's 84 months. You're like thinking, oh my God, what is going on here? So yeah, the average length of term is in excess of 60 months. And so what you see is that consumers are not returning to the dealership as often. Obviously, this does not apply to your lease customer, but customers on your retail side are not returning back to the dealership as often to purchase a new vehicle. So what happens in that case, Ted, is that if I'm only going to go to the dealership every 5 years, every 6 years, every 7 years, I want to make sure that the dealership is retaining that customer, and so that's a big issue. That's a big issue that's happening out at the dealerships today, and I can get into that a little bit.
I like it. KBB, Kelley Blue Book, is a trusted source, one that's been around for a long time. Consumers trust it. Dealer personnel trusted. I saw a recent Cox study, Juan, that 50% of a dealership's profits come in through fixed ops and service centers. That's incredible. What shifts should we be making as dealers to align with those potential revenue opportunities? And maybe what are some of those opportunities?
Yeah, some of these shifts, and I have some dealer friends, right? I have dealer friends on my digital Rolodex here. And not only are they intelligent and they're fascinating business men and women, but sometimes they could be a little bit stubborn. And I mean that respectfully. And what I mean by that, Ted, is we were also reluctant to drive transparency on new car, used car listings 20 years ago. Like, oh, yes. No, call the dealership to get a price. Well, guess what? That behavior changed completely, and the consumer expectation changed completely. So now what you see here is the consumer also expects pricing transparency on the fixed ops side. And when they don't have it, guess what? The 75% of their customers are defecting to your Valvolines, to your Jiffy Lubes, to your TED Auto Shop services because they feel that the dealership is more expensive. And guess what Cox Automotive has identified through research of over 200 million ROs is that in some instances, the dealerships are not more expensive. But so there's this perception issue that the dealership is more expensive. So you have your average customer defects after 5 years of service and leaves. So you've lost your consumer pipeline for a brand new, new or used vehicle. So that's where I think a slight mind shift needs to take place to double down on fixed operations. Not only from a transparency perspective, Ted, but from a trying to retain those customers before they defect.
What great points, Juan. The whole expectation of all of us, right? We're consumers, has changed dramatically, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. You can't imagine going to an Amazon and, having to call for the price. And you're right. It started in the variable side. We've seen it on the F&I side. And now that is taking place on the service side. And transparency is really important. And I know that dealerships need tools to help them provide that transparency. What are some of today's Juan, consumer pain points, and what does the data tell us about what they're looking for when it comes to scheduling that service work or the pricing transparency?
Yeah, what consumers are looking for, and you mentioned that earlier, and it's the T word. They're looking for transparency.
Yeah.
They're not looking for the least expensive. They just want to get a sense for what is fair, right? Whether you're a near luxury customer or whether you're an average vehicle, right? Whether a domestic import, when you walk into the dealership and the service manager slides that estimated invoice over, you don't know if it's $200 or $900.
No.
That information should be set up before the owner walks into the dealership. And let me stop by saying, Ted, there are some dealerships that are already doing this, and they're doing a fantastic job. At the time that you schedule an online appointment, they're telling you exactly what you can expect. And for those progressive dealers, I applaud them, we applaud them, and I suspect that they're doing a great job of retaining their customers. But what the research is telling us is that when you don't provide pricing transparency on the fixed op side to your vehicle owners, you're going to lose them. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to lose them either to another franchise, or you're going to lose them to your average, fast loop location down the street.
And you're so right. And our audience is aware, that those mass merchandisers, the lion's share of the market they've been getting. Juan, can you name some companies or a company that is getting it right in terms of, the transparency that you're discussing?
Yeah, one of the things that we do, since I'm in traditional products, one of the things that we do, I'm allowed to go out and really be, a tester of different products and services. So that's what I did. I went out and I tried some services, and I challenge any of your service directors that are on this call. I would even challenge any of your dealer principals that are on this on this meeting. Go out to Valvoline. I challenge you to go out to Valvoline and get a sense for how it is that they're doing it. And it's very minor things that they're doing, but the expectations that they're setting with the user all the way through are really fantastic. And it's an expectation. You can argue that they're not ASC certified or don't have the expertise for that particular franchise or vehicle. I get it, right? I'm not trying to throw the franchise dealership under the bus or the Valvolines or Jiffy Lubes under the bus, but I'm suggesting they have it figured out. And I tell my daughter, it's like, just go to some of these fast food. Sorry, I'm not hungry, Ted. Just go to some of these fast lube places and go see exactly what that service looks like.
We're talking today to Juan Flores. He's the Senior Director of Product Management at Kelley Blue Book Service Advisor, KBB. Our audience is very familiar with the Cox Automotive tools. Most of our audience, Juan, we use those tools, throughout the day. And Kelley Blue Book, KBB, is a trusted source for transparency for not just consumers, but for dealer people as well. Let's talk a little bit, Juan, about trade evaluations and trade-ins, because that's become a big part of the picture, especially the last couple of years with different valuations, high and low now. What are some of the challenges on the inventory side? And service centers are seeing, more activities in terms of more opportunities and things that we could take advantage of, let's say, perhaps with a price walk and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I ran the valuation team at Kelley Blue Book for 6 years, and then was also lucky enough to work with the trade-in marketplace and the migration over to ICO, what today is. And the reason that is successful, and the reason CarMax is successful, and the AccuTrades of the world, why they're successful, is because they've provided a transparency process. And I know dealers don't like the P word. They've provided a transparency process to allow the dealership to walk the customer through the trade-in valuation walk. And in most instances, what you realize is that the vehicle owner will actually discount the vehicle themselves. Be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, right? CarMax does a great job of doing that. Obviously, Kelley Blue Book ICO dealers do a fantastic job of doing that. So when you think about what Kelley Blue Book Service Advisor is doing, we're doing the same thing. We're providing a process and a tool that allows the service manager to do a service walk around. Be like, oh yeah, this particular vehicle needs these types of services. Well, the pricing is going to be established via fair tools like Kelley Blue Book being a third-party objective. And one quick thing about this, the same rigor that Kelley Blue Book uses on the trade-in valuation side is the same rigor that Kelley Blue Book uses on establishing the fair repair range on the service side. We have, obviously, Cox Automotive has a significant amount of data, and that's what statisticians want. Statisticians want data, and that's what Cox Automotive can deliver. So the same methodology that exists on the trade-in valuation side is what Kelley Blue Book is using on the fixed op side.
And consumers trust that KBB. They see that logo. I see it all the time when I go into my local service center. So, Juan, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk a little bit about warranty work. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, we just launched a beta. We have a syndicated widget that now can get installed onto the dealership's website. We launched it with 10 dealers right before the holidays. We had some hand raisers. And so what you find, and you know how to get to the service page on the dealership. It's kind of, sometimes it's hidden. You have to go down and then you find it. Well, guess what? And that's okay. I understand. We all understand why it's that set up that way. Dealership website audience found the KBB syndicated fair repair range on the dealership's website and is referencing it. So this will be available. I'll be at NADA on the floor, and we'll be driving this feature that will be available to dealers. So either we can route our audience from kbb.com over to the dealership website, which Cox Automotive has been doing a fantastic job forever, or they can be a partner and they can have this fair repair range that already kind of exists on their VDPs, but it's fixed ops that they can have installed on their website anywhere they like. But yeah, this tool is now syndicatable, and the dealership can have it, right?
And I just learned we can look for you at NADA later this week on the floor. So
yep, absolutely. I'll be at NADA, so looking forward to that.
I wanted to ask you one more question about warranty work, because it comes up a lot here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. How can warranty work help dealers build a customer pipeline that will eventually deepen loyalty? What do you think?
Ted, thanks for asking that question. When we launched Service Advisor, we had all this emphasis on pricing for fixed ops transparency, and then we had a recall check on the page. And guess what? We're averaging over 400,000 VINs that are being manually entered by our audience, because they're looking for a recall. So what we're doing is we're driving a lot of warranty work to our Service Advisor dealers. And I've been talking to some dealers, and they're like, Juan, I don't want any warranty work. I'm already backed up. But guess what? 65% of warranty work is accompanied with customer pay work. And what you then allow the dealership to do is regain that customer that they previously had lost. And I would say that because there's a reason why they came to us instead of reached out to the dealer to check for a recall. If we know that warranty work is accompanied with customer pay, here's a chance to regain it, and then you build a sales pipeline. I go back to the idea of the dealership needs to diversify their how they engage and attract consumers, those that they've lost and then those that they have today. So warranty pay is a great opportunity that we continue to drive a lot of audience into the dealerships, specifically from that particular feature on our site.
So Juan, I'm one of those customers who's entered their VIN number on the KBBs, and I've done it a couple times. Okay,
Sure.
in the last year or longer. All right. In fact, my daughter, who just turned 21, she just graduated college, had a question, and I had her do the same thing. Okay, and what a great, again, that word, transparent tool for the customer and a trusted tool. And why not have our dealer audience also take advantage of those tools as well? On their side of the equation.
Yeah, 100%. This is going to be such a major area of focus for KBB.com. And for the very first time, if you go to KBB.com, there's always been 2 buttons, and that was like sacrilegious to ever ask for a third button to be placed.
Yes.
we would go to leadership at KBB, like, can we please get the 3 buttons? They're like, no.
Oh wow.
We just added a third button, Ted. If you go to KBB.com, there's a third button. Price my current car, look at new car, and then check for recall. That's how much of an engagement tool it is. And that's how much KBB audience is telling us that they don't know anything about recall. They don't know how to handle this.
Sure.
Because, and no disrespect to the OEMs or dealers, it is such a confusing area for the consumer, and they're coming to us because we're a trusted third party. What we want to do, Ted, is take that warranty customer and drive them over to your local franchise.
I love it. And you're right. Recalls are in the news all the time, right? And we don't know. We're busy, right? Is there a recall on our vehicle? What a great tool. Juan Flores, everybody, he's here today from KBB. He's the Senior Director of Product Management. Reach out to Juan. Juan, if our audience wants to learn more, you mentioned we could meet with you, see you at NADA later in the week. Also, on the website as well, I imagine we can get more information on the product, or perhaps even from our folks, our product managers, such as yourself at Cox Automotive.
Yeah, absolutely. They can. I'm happy to connect with them at NADA. We also have a dealer site. It's called b2b.kbb.com, and we have all of the features and tools that are available there under Service Advisor. Great.
Fantastic information. Juan, on behalf of the Fixed Ops community and Roundtable, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having Kelley Blue Book, Ted. Appreciate it.
Juan Flores, everybody, here from Kelley Blue Book, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.